welcome to the Monday, July 27, 2020, 6 p.m. regular meeting of the Bell Gardens Successor Agency to the Community Development Commission. The meeting will now come to order. Pursuant to Executive Order N2920, please be advised that members of the Bell Gardens Successor Agency will participate in today's meeting telephonically. Agency members and staff are participating from remote locations. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting live online through the city's website as noted on the agenda. Conflict of interest or recusal. If any agency member should have any conflict of interest, virtually, please leave the room by turning off your video and muting yourself. You may still keep listening to the meeting. Mr. Hyler, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes. Please raise the flag or repeat after me. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Agency Secretary, will you please call roll the successor agency?
Yes, Madam Chair. Agency Member Aceituno.
Present.
Barcena.
Present.
Vice Chair Flores.
Present.
And Chair Cortez.
Present. Agency Secretary, do we have any public participation for the successor agency?
There is no public participation.
Okay, seeing that we have no public participation, I'll go ahead and close public comment. And now we're going to go ahead and move on to the consent calendar. Does anybody in the successor agency wish to pull any items for separate discussion? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and move to approve the consent calendar for the successor agency. May I have a second? Okay, second by Councilmember Aceituno. Does any, moving on to agency member comments, do we have any comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll go ahead and adjourn the successor agency. And now we're gonna go ahead and call to order the city council meeting. Good evening and welcome to the Monday, July 27, 6 p.m. regular meeting of the Bell Gardens City Council. The meeting will now come to order. Pursuant to Executive Order N2920, please be advised that members of the Bell Gardens City Council will participate in today's meeting telephonically. Council members and staff are participating from remote locations. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting live online through the city's website, as noted on the agenda. Conflict of interest or recusal. If any agency members should have a conflict of interest virtually, please leave the room by turning off your video and muting yourself. You may still keep listening to the meeting. City Clerk, will you please call roll the City Council?
Yes, Mayor. Council members Aceituno.
Present.
Barcena.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Flores.
Present.
And Mayor Cortez.
Present. City Attorney, can you please give a report on the closed session item?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. The City Council is now back in open session, having met in closed session to discuss the 5 items posted on tonight's agenda. With respect to the first item, the City Council received a briefing from outside Special Counsel Oliver Yee of Liebert, Cassidy, and Whitmore. No action was taken on that item in closed session tonight. With respect to item number 2, the City Council received a briefing from Special Counsel Todd Lifton of Rutan and Tucker. No final action was taken in closed session on that item. With respect to item 3 and 4 and 5, the City Council received briefings from Special Counsel, but no final action was taken on those items. I should also note with respect to items 3 and 4, the vote on the direction that was provided was 4-1. Councilmember Lizette Flores voting. Thank you.
Thank you, City Attorney. Moving on to public participation. City Clerk, do we have any speakers?
We do not have any speakers. I'm gonna, yeah.
Okay, seeing that we have no public comment, I'll go ahead and close public comment at this point. City Manager report.
Thank you, Mayor Cortez. I'd just like to make one announcement. Probably all the council knows that we opened up the COVID CDBG community assistance programs for applications about a week and a half ago. Those application period end on July 29th, so in 2 days at 5 p.m. As a reminder, that's the Small Business Assistance Program and the Residential Rental Assistance Program. So we've had robust response to the Residential Rental Assistance Program and somewhat medium response to the Small Business Assistance Program. So we'll update the council once we get the final results of all of the applications. But again, for any of the members of the public that may be listening, there are 2 days left to submit your application for both of those programs. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, City Manager. Moving on to consent calendar. Does any member of the council wish to pull any items for separate discussion? I'm pulling item number 14.
I'd like to pull item number 9, item number 8, and that'll be all.
Okay,
And now, you said number 14?
yes, I'm pulling item number 14.
Okay, then we share the same item.
Okay, any other council member wish to pull any other items? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the consent calendar with the exceptions of item number 8, number 9, and number 14?
I'll go ahead and second.
I'll take it to a roll call. Councilmember Aceituno?
Yes.
Councilmember Barcena?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
And yes for myself as well. Item number 8, Mayor Pro Tem, you have the floor.
Mike, can you break down what the differences of this contract is so that the community understand what's happening?
Mayor Pro Tem. So basically our residential waste hauler, Athens Disposal, is required to comply with new law regarding the handling of green waste. That green waste comes along with a significant increase in cost in how that green waste is handled in complying with state law. So in this case, our waste haulers requested a fee increase to cover this additional cost of compliance. That rate increase would have equated to over a 4% increase to the customer base. So staff worked with our city attorney, with our waste consultant, and with Athens as well to come up with a way to mitigate that increase. It's undeniable that there is the additional cost that Athens has, but to come up in a way that we could forego that cost by not passing it on to the residents during COVID, this financial crisis. And so in working with all of these parties, the result was we determined that if we were to reduce the required recycling for Athens from 50% to 35%, the cost savings associated with that reduction would cover the cost of complying with these green waste laws, while still maintaining compliance with any laws regarding recycling. So that's really a basic rundown. So what we looked to do was change the service levels a little bit here to not require the council to consider or potentially approve a rate increase to the residents. You're on mute, Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor Pro Tem, you're on. Yeah, thank you.
Could you really quickly explain to the city of Bell Gardens how Athens helps the city in its recycling and how they've been recycling the vast majority of our bottles and recyclables this whole time?
Sure, Mayor Pro Tem. I'll speak very briefly, and then I'll ask our Public Works Director if she wants to add in. We recently put some decals on some of the garbage cans that are around the city of Bell Gardens to make sure that residents understand that when you throw away your garbage, you don't have to sort your garbage. Your recyclable material goes into the garbage. It goes into a facility where Athens actually goes through and pulls out the recyclable material. In some cases, obviously, some recyclable materials more easily, pulled out than others. So they've been doing that for some number of years, and will continue to do that. I'll ask if our Public Works Director wants to add anything more to that. But just for sure, for the residents, when you throw away your recyclable material, it's gone through a facility, and the recyclable material is pulled out to a degree of about what will be about 35% of everything that can be recycled will be removed. I'll turn it over to our director.
That's correct, Mayor Pro Tem and Mike. It's called a MRF. An MRF is a materials recovery facility. So we do the work for the residents. Not we, Athens. Athens does the work, and they have a MRF facility that hands towards all the trash for our community. So, and Mike's correct. That's basically called a MRF.
And that's not to say our community should not recycle, right? It's just for those that slip by.
Oh no, they clean it even further. We should still try and recycle and reduce. If anything, reduce waste. Stop buying so much stuff. Stop wasting. Consume less is the best strategy to reduce landfills. Just buy less, consume less.
And I just want to clarify, the reason why I bring this up is because people ask me, why don't we have blue trash bins? And people feel like the city of Bell Gardens isn't environmentally friendly, right? So I want them to understand that we don't have a blue trash bin because Athens, who's been with us for many years and has a long future with us, has provided that service for many, many years and will continue to do so. And that's why we don't have a blue trash bin.
Correct.
Any other questions for this item, Mayor Pro Tem?
That's all for me. I can go ahead and move to approve this.
Okay, I'll go ahead and second that motion. I'll take it to a roll call. Councilmember Aceituno.
Yes.
Councilmember Barcena.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
And yes for myself as well. So item number 8 carries. Moving on to item number 9, Mayor Pro Tem, you have the floor.
Item number 9, is that you, Chow? That's the approval of professional services with the mandated reimbursement claims for MGT of America.
Mayor Pro Tem, that's out of our administrative services department. I can answer any questions on that if you have any specific, or I can give you a brief update.
I just want to know the prices look a little bit so MGT is 5,000 right per year, and the maximum is 7,000 per year. But my question is, what is the experience and what is the hourly rate?
So Mayor Pro Tem, I'll answer briefly, and then I'll look to Remo Hansen, who's on the WebEx meeting here as well. So I don't believe they provide an hourly rate. They provide a flat rate that basically covers us for these mandated cost claims. Just to add to it, it's somewhat of a commodity service, meaning you have to know how to fill out these forms appropriately so you can get your reimbursement and not get audited and have to repay the money later on. It's pretty specialized. There's only really a few firms out there doing it. Some larger agencies, such as a county, would probably hire an internal accountant that would be full-time to do that, but they'd be looking at reimbursements in the millions of dollars. We generally receive somewhere about $20,000 a year in reimbursements. And the $5,000 is kind of a high percentage on the surface, about a quarter of it, but it guarantees that you don't have any audit issues, which can come up with these SB 90 claims. What I'm going to ask Remo is, did we even ask for hourly rates and were they provided? I believe we just asked for flat rates, but I'll let Remo answer if you can, Remo, please.
Hi, Mike. Can you hear me? Yes, so we really did not ask for hourly rate. We basically asked for the fee. And the reason why we brought it to council, because It's a multi-year, 3 years. So we wanted to make sure we get a signed agreement. So, and you pretty much explain everything.
Thanks, Remo. And the reason Remo brings up the dollar amount, Mayor Pro Tem and Mayor and Council, is the city manager's authorities are for $10,000 agreement. This is a 3-year agreement at $5,000 for each year, roughly. So it would be over the 10,000. So we bring that to council, even though the annual amount's below. But yeah, again, this is somewhat, with no disrespect to the firms that do this work, it's somewhat of a commoditized type service where you're basically paying a fee that guarantees that they'll submit the claims for you accurately and without audit issues and things like that. So in any given year, there may be some programs that are available for you to submit for reimbursement that aren't available in other years. And so it covers you either way when there are more programs or less.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Remo.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the item, Mayor Pro Tem?
No, that's all. I'd go ahead and move to approve this.
Okay, I'll second that motion. I'll take it to a roll call. Councilmember Aceituno?
Yes.
Councilmember Barcena? Councilmember Barcena, I'm assuming you said a yes, but your voice didn't come through.
Yes.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
And yes for myself as well. So the item carries. For number 14, my motion, I don't want to open up for discussion. I just want to go ahead and table the item. Staff needs a little bit more time. But Mayor Pro Tem, I know you wanted to pull the item as well for item number 14.
I just wanted to ask for the CDBG, that's the approval of professional services for agreement for CDBG administrative consulting services, right? So for that one, what is the, I would say, I guess, what's the hourly rate for this too, and the experience level that we're bringing to our city?
So Mayor Pro Tem, the mayor is actually pulling the item, so it's not going to be considered by the council. In talking with the community development director just recently about this, we want to go back and look at this again because we're anticipating potentially receiving a grant that we may use our probably all of our CDBG funds in some future years to pay for the other half of that grant. And that may preclude us from really needing these services going forward. And so, I think the mayor's recommendation makes sense while we circle back to see whether we need these services or not.
Sounds good to me.
So I'll go ahead and move to table the item. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mayor Pro Tem Flores. I'll take it to a roll call. Councilmember Aceituno?
Yes.
Councilmember Barcena?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Flores?
Yes.
And then yes for myself as well. So the item is tabled. And with that, we conclude consent calendar. Moving on to the first discussion item, City Manager.
Thanks again, Mayor Cortez. This is an annual item whereby the council is requested to designate a voting delegate and 1 or 2 alternates for the League of Cities annual conference. This year, it's going to be a virtual conference. It's been changed from in-person to virtual. And
I'm
so,
sorry, there's like this echo. So if somebody on there has it all on.
let me see, I'll try again. Does that sound better? Okay. So this is an item whereby we request the council to designate a voting delegate and alternate or alternates to attend the League of Cities annual business meeting. This year, it's not going to be in person. It's going to be a virtual meeting. So with that, I'd turn it back to the council for discussion.
Thank you, City Manager. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and appoint a delegate and an alternate. I'd like to nominate Councilmember Barcena as our delegate and Councilmember Aceituno as an alternate.
Before we continue, Mike, you said that this is annually, so it's time to renew this committee?
This is specifically for delegates voting or alternate for the annual conference.
But it's
So
not.
this is,
Okay. I got
yeah,
you.
so this is just specifically for that conference.
Okay, so I just want to say that that I think that we should be very conscious on the people that we appoint to our committees, because It seems that there's this common culture where we're missing our committees. As you guys know, all of the committees were removed from me. This is the only one that I have, and I have not missed any of them. But I understand, and I value the importance of making sure that all of my colleagues are well informed and educated on the resources the League of Cities has to offer. However, I'd just like to point out that, Mr. Aceituno, since he took my Gateway Cities committee, has missed more than half of them. And for the ICA, I'm not sure if it was Mr. Aceituno or Marco who have that, but there's been about 10 meetings, consecutive meetings, and Bell Gardens is on the verge of being removed from that committee because no one has been attending these meetings. So as we move forward and appoint people, let's make sure that we don't try to eliminate voices where, obviously I'm here and I speak very, very, well when it comes to my city and I'm outspoken. So for me, it comes to a place where if you try to eliminate me, I think it's a shame because we should be making sure that we are all in different committees so that we can speak for our city and have a voice here. For the League of Cities, for instance, I'm on the presidential committee. So unfortunately, I'm sure you guys would want that, but you can't take it. It's an appointed position, so you would have to apply. But I would invite you all there's environmental injustices here in Bell Gardens, and there's no one from Bell Gardens there. There's only one person in the Southeast there. There's the Public Safety Committee. There's many other committees, and I invite you guys all to, apply, but also be active in them versus trying to take stuff and not even, handling it. So I want to make sure that if you sign up for something that you actually do it, because as of right now, the sanitation committee, Alejandra was on it and I was the alternate. There were so many consecutive absences that they were calling me to come in and step in because the union needed support. There was voting that was necessary and nobody was attending. So I had to go there, so I want to make sure that whatever you sign up for, you take it with responsibility and you actually attend. And if you need it, we can always, show attendances. I would love to add this as an item to the agenda if you guys need me to put, attendances on the board so that the community can see the lack of attendance. But I want to make sure that you guys move forward consciously and accurately.
Thank you for that advice, Mayor Pro Tem. Again, I'd like to move forward with my motion appointing the delegate as Councilmember Barcena. Just a reminder, this time around, unfortunately, due to COVID, everything will be virtual. So unless Councilmember Barcena, you have a conflict of attending a virtual meeting, I think you'd be an adequate representation of our city of Bell Gardens, and we need educated or adequate representatives to these committees.
Yes, I will gladly accept to be appointed to this commission, and I want to welcome Mayor Pro Tem's concerns of being involved. So I have my commitment here today that I will be an active representative in this particular committee. And as an alternate of this committee currently, I would have loved to hear more about what's going on in this particular committee. So that's something that I'm planning on doing with the city. If I can report back to the meetings in regards to what's being discussed here, I will gladly do that. And I think that would be a positive change and something that we haven't seen here in the city. So thank you for that appointment, and I'll be glad to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Barcena. Councilmember Aceituno, I don't know if you have a conflict for that day or if you would like to pass up on being an alternate.
I don't foresee having a conflict since it's a virtual meeting. And I just want to address the comment that the Mayor Pro Tem Flores stated about half of the Gateway COG meetings since I've been appointed to replace her. She can check into the facts, and that's a false statement that she just said.
I actually made sure that it was accurate, so I would love to print that email out and post it here. Do you want me to do that at the end of the meeting?
Okay, so Councilmember Aceituno, I hear that you don't have a conflict. Councilmember Barcena, you don't have a conflict, so I go ahead and motion. So may I have a second?
I'll second that.
Perfect, thank you so much. I'll take it to a roll call. Councilmember Aceituno?
Yes.
Councilmember Barcena?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem? Mayor Pro Tem, you can either say that you're abstaining or voting no.
I said yes. I'm sorry, my mic was off.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so Mayor Pro Tem's yes, and yes for myself as well. That motion carries, and we're moving on to the next discussion item. City Manager.
Thanks again, Mayor Cortez. So this next item is the adoption of urgency ordinance for commercial eviction moratorium. This is essentially an extension for 90 days through October 31st of the city's existing commercial eviction moratorium. Currently, the county's got a moratorium that goes through September. This goes through the end of October. This is one that the council put in place, I believe, prior to the county having such a moratorium. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. It's the same one that's been approved on 2 different occasions by the council. And we, of course, would bring this back to council in October if it was deemed most likely required to continue this for council consideration.
Thank you, City Manager. So just to clarify, we're rescinding the previous order, but we're enacting a new one to be able to provide for other businesses to be able to operate outside, correct?
That's the next one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so this one is just, am I on the wrong one? Oh, yes, I am. I'm on number 17. Okay, does the council have any questions on this item? Okay, hearing none, I move to approve item number 16, which is the adoption of the urgency ordinance. Commercial eviction moratorium extension number 908-U. May I have a second?
Second.
Second.
I'm not sure which one came in first.
Go ahead, Marco.
Marco Barcena seconds.
Okay, and we'll take this to a roll call. Councilmember Aceituno?
Yes.
Councilmember Barcena?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
And yes for myself as well. So this item carries. Moving on to item number 17 now.
Thanks again, Mayor Cortez. This is the one that you were just referencing. So previously, the council ratified an executive order that authorized temporary outdoor services for dining, for restaurants, essentially. What we wanted to do was clean that up. First off, the initial executive order required umbrellas for aesthetics purposes. We wanted to clarify that would allow for canopy structures as well, which is what you're seeing more frequently used. Provides a greater amount of shade, probably more stability as well from a structural standpoint. So moving from just umbrellas to canopies, that was initially going to be for dining establishments. With the most recent health orders, staff is also including in this executive order that we're asking the council to ratify, that this be applied to outdoor services of all kinds, not just dining services. So this would include barbers, any type of like a nail salon potentially. The purpose here again is the current health orders allow for this to be conducted outdoors, certain businesses that cannot be conducted indoors. And so this is to provide within the health order and the public health guidelines that are out there, allow for these businesses to potentially generate some income while still following the health guidelines. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Wouldn't this be more of an amendment versus a rescinding for this particular ordinance, Mike?
It could have been done as an amendment. I think for legal reasons, and I think for more detail, I'd turn it over to Attorney Vasquez or Attorney Olivares to discuss. But it seemed to make sense, I think, in their minds to do a rescinding of the initial order and then do a new executive order that made all of these clarifications. But I'll turn it over to Mr. Olivares or Ms. Vasquez if they want to add.
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, you are correct. We could have done it in that way. We just felt that doing it this way was cleaner. So that's the reason for it. But you are correct. We could have done an amendment. We chose not to. We just thought there was a cleaner way of dealing with this.
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, this is Stephanie Vasquez. I also wanted to add on to that. The reason why we decided to go with a year, in addition to what Richard said, it's cleaner, since we're expanding it to allow all businesses. We figured that We would not only be changing the title, but the content to expand. We did modify to allow this for all businesses. So this is why we're going with the new one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephanie and Rick. Any other questions from the council? Okay, Councilmember Barson, I think you froze in motion, so I'm not sure if you had a question.
Questions here. Thank you.
Perfect. I'll go ahead and move to approve the item. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Mayor Pro Tem seconds this motion, and I'll take it to a roll call. Councilmember Aceituno,
Yes.
Councilmember Barcena,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Flores,
Yes.
and yes for myself as well, so the motion carries. City Manager, moving on to the last discussion item.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Cortez. This next item is an update item that you may recall from the last council meeting. So what staff tried to do in a nod to addressing the parking issue, there's been a lot of discussion on T markings. And so what staff has done is applied the same process that we use for speed bumps. So if a neighborhood desires speed bumps, there's a process in place. And that process has worked successfully, most recently on Chalet, and I believe on Spect coming up in the near future. And so we adopted that same process basically as a test mechanism on Quinn Street. And so we sent out 170 notices along with already a prepaid self-addressed stamped envelope to determine. We sent out 170 notices on Quinn Street. And what we were looking for was, could we get 86, which would be 50% plus one, 86 residents to say they would require us to put T markings on the street. We did acknowledge up front that that would result most likely in the loss of about 27 parking spaces. And so really did this as a test to see how much of a desire was there. And we received 40 some responses, of which 35 were yes to T markings and the remainder were no. But that doesn't meet the threshold that we use when we're applying for speed bumps. And so with that, I'd be happy to answer questions that the council may have. Our director, Public Works Director Vu, is here to answer any more specifics about this process at this point.
Any questions from council?
Yes, I have a question in regards to the results of that survey that was sent out. What I'm understanding is from the amount of surveys that were actually turned in by our residents, the majority of them came in positive, meaning that they wanted to actually see these T marks implemented. The issue was that we didn't have over 50% of them turned in and come out affirmative that they wanted to implement them. So can you elaborate a little bit more on that, City Manager, and just explain to our residents what this process is based on? I know that there's a similarity between that process and the humps process, and that's sort of what we took as a guideline to carry this out.
Yeah, so I'll give an example with a speed hump, just a condensed version of it. With speed humps, let's say we were to hand out 170 notices and basically a letter for people to just say yes or no, along with an envelope so they don't have to spend money to send it back. And I'll give an example with Chalet. So we sent out, let's say 170 notices, and half of 170 is 85. So as long as we get 86 yes notices back, that's a clear indication that over 50% of that neighborhood or that block would like to have speed bumps installed. And we've seen that process work, as I mentioned, on 2 occasions recently. So believing that process seems to have worked to some degree, apparently seems to work well, we applied that same process to the T markings on Quinn Street, because there clearly would be, as with speed bumps, some people that want them and some people that don't. I think with the T markings, there are certain advantages to T markings. There are pros, but there are also cons as well, from the perspective of you lose, in this case would be up to 27 parking spaces. If a vehicle happens to be, a crew cab with an extended bed, it may not even fit within the T marking. So there are some negative aspects potentially as well. And so we sent out the 170 notices. And if we got 86 back that said, yes, we want T markings, we would move on with that process. And in this case, we did not receive the 86. We received 35 yes results. Now, to address your issue, out of the total results that we received, it was overwhelming to include the T marking. The other side of the coin would be is it was underwhelming from the perspective of 35 out of 170 residents said, yes, they want T markings. So you really have to look at it from both perspectives. And I think in having some discussions on it, really looking at the speed hump results gives you some comfort that this process does work in other examples. Well, this was the first time we tried it with T markings. It has resulted in speed bumps on other streets. So I hope that clarifies and answers your question.
Yes, thank you, Mike. I appreciate that.
Any other questions from the council? So this item is a receive and file presentation. However, as continuing with this item and not just having it die here, city manager, would it be possible to come up with this as a formal process for the rest of the community so that if they do want to petition a certain street for there to be T markings, they can do so, and we have a process in motion similar to the one that we just did for this street?
Yes, Mayor Cortez. So I spoke with Director Vu, and her recommendation would be to run that process through the Traffic and Safety Commission and then to the council, which is what we did with the speed hump process. And again, that process seems to be working pretty well. So staff's recommendation would be for us to prepare a similar policy, run it through the Traffic and Safety Commission. After potential amendments and discussion there, if it were approved, bring it back through to the council.
Awesome, that sounds great. Yes, go ahead,
Madam Mayor,
Councilmember.
if I may. I just want to welcome that suggestion that you just made. I think that there's still a lot of interest in the community to allow this to be an option for our residents. So I'm glad to hear that coming from you, and I'm also glad to hear that even though this wasn't approved for Quinn Street, we made the effort that we promised our residents. We made sure that we gave them the option to have this happen on their street. So I'm glad that we're continuing to look out for the rest of Bell Gardens and at least have this as an option. However, if they're not supportive of it, I think that will show up in the numbers. And if that is the case, then hopefully we'll be able to move forward with other solutions for the parking problem. And one last thing, I want to thank the community, especially the online community in Bell Gardens, because they've been very active. I actually saw a petition in regards to parking and finding solutions. So I want to thank our community for being proactive about this issue, and just know that the council in its entirety is very supportive of finding practical ways in which to improve your parking situation here in the city. So my comments, thank you.
Mike, before we continue, can you remind me what was the cost for the parking study for Quinn Street, well, for Bell Gardens? What's the cost?
Director Vu, I'm kind of not sure I have the exact number in my head. I'm going to turn that over to you. So that would be for the parking study that was conducted for the city, I think, in which we identified T markings as one of the potential solutions.
40,000.
Okay. So I feel like I keep repeating myself, every council meeting. We spent $40,000 to tell us that we didn't have parking in Bell Gardens. And we've done nothing with that. We were supposed to spend $22,000 to make the T markings. However, I understand the need of a consensus from that street. Now, moving forward, I think that when we bring a suggestion of something that the community has clearly told us that we have an issue with, we shouldn't have to pay a study group to come and tell us that we don't have parking. We know we don't have parking. We know we don't have a pool. We know these things. So we shouldn't be allocating money for studies like these. So, you know, I still stand with the fact that we should also explore that we might need parking permits, because there's a lot of homeowners in our city, that 20-something% who just don't have anywhere to park at night. And we should not just explore the T markings that we promised, that Alejandra, me, and Marco promised, you know, 2 years ago, but we should also explore the parking permits. So, you know, moving forward, I think that it's time that we, you know, move a little faster and we act on the things that we say we're going to do.
Madam Mayor, if I may, just have a brief comment.
Go ahead, Councilmember.
I just want to say that the parking study, which most of us approved and supported, I don't think that money was spent in vain. And the reason why I'm saying that is because a parking permit system is something that we may in fact consider in the near future. So what we're trying to do here is take gradual steps just to avoid putting our foot in our mouth. For example, if we would have done the T markings on Quinn Street and we would have lost 27 parking spots, I think maybe a lot of our residents wouldn't be too happy on that street. So I agree, let's be progressive, let's keep moving forward. But I do appreciate the fact that we're taking the precautionary steps to make sure that the decisions that we take are beneficial to the majority of our residents. But yes, let's keep moving forward. Let's put an option out there for parking permits. I'm not entirely sure how the community feels about that. Maybe at one point we can put out a survey. That's something that I discussed with the city manager, just to get a feeling of how our residents feel about parking permits. But I definitely don't feel that the study that we made is in vain, and I'm hoping to be able to use that information for the benefit of the community very soon.
Let me clarify what I meant by it being in vain. What I mean is, we know we didn't have parking. So the study should have been made throughout the city like it was, but with an actual remedy, right? So right now we're supposed to spend $22,000, right? $22,000 more for the striping, Chow? That's what it costs? Yeah, okay. So we're supposed to spend that amount, right? But we're not doing anything with it. So we spent $40,000 to tell us that what we already knew. So that's my point. That's what I'm saying. So I'm not trying to put my foot in my mouth. I know, I can see that there's no parking. So moving forward, we should not be spending money on things we don't need professionals to tell us. So what I mean is, we should have done something about it, you know, and if we were going to send out a survey first, we should have first sent out that survey. But anywho, moving forward, we should just be more progressive.
Thank you to both of my colleagues for their comments. A point that I would like to make is, next time that we're approving a study of this sort, every council member has the option of voting no. At the time, everybody voted yes, I think with the exception of Councilmember Aceituno, if I remember correctly. But the rest of us were in favor of the study. Now, given the times that we're in, as of March, the whole country came to a halt. City Hall came to a halt. This process would have been a lot different if this wouldn't be happening at the moment. We promised our community that we were going to bring the study back, that we were going to offer workshops, community town halls to inform them of the different options, so that we can make a collective decision. The efforts to send out surveys is not to slowball this project. It's to keep them in mind and to also listen to what they had to say, because one thing that I always emphasize with the community was that we would not impose a certain project on their street. They're the ones being affected, not us, unless it's on my street. So that's the whole point of sending out these surveys and trying to find new and innovative ways to take their opinion into account without forcing anything on them. Now, again, if we were not in these uncertain times, if we had the option to have town halls, public meetings, maybe the response rate would have been different for that street. At this time, also our community has bigger things to worry about, which is maybe why they didn't respond to our survey. there's just so many elements and factors playing against us for this. So we're just doing the best that we can as a city, but we're not trying to impose one decision for every single resident. That would be unfair without listening to their opinions. So just for clarification, we're not slowballing this project. We will continue to move forward with the study to find possible solutions. And hopefully sometime in the near future, we can have these conversations with our community in person and not through paper, but we can only be so hopeful. With that, I'd like to motion to receive and file this update, and may I have a second?
I'll second. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Barcena. I'll take it to a roll call. Councilmember Aceituno.
Yes.
Councilmember Barcena.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Flores.
Yes.
And yes for myself as well. So that concludes item number 18. And Mike, direction was given. I would do that as my council member comments, but I think this would suffice. Thank you. Moving on to public. Who's not me? Okay. Moving on to public participation on non-agenda items. City Clerk, do we have any speakers?
Yes, we do, Mayor. We have 6 speakers that have requested to be called in and 4 emails to be read. So I'll proceed with the first one. The first one is Mel Alamon, and I'll call him now.
Hello?
Hello, is this Mr. Alimon?
Yes, it's him.
This is Jane Halstead, City Clerk for the City of Bell Gardens. I'm calling you so you can state your comments before the City Council tonight. Please announce your name and state your comments. You have 3 minutes to speak, starting now.
Okay, excellent. Good evening, everybody. I am your constituent. I have a couple of items that I just would like to bring up to your attention. I'll try to talk fast. First off, I would like to commend the city representatives on not overly reducing the city's police budget. I'm a supporter of defunding the police, actually, but it's important to know that this movement does not impact all of the cities in the country the same way. The Bell Gardens PD is not militarized, and so there's nothing really truly to defund. I'm not blind to racism or overreach, but we can't capture our local PD concerns with nationwide movements simply because it's popular. Thank you. The second item that I would like to bring up is, if you do not live in the city, and I think that most of you don't, I invite you to please walk the city, specifically to walk the 3.5 miles that engage Eastern Florence and Garfield. Do it either early in the morning or in the late evening, and it'll help you better understand some of the concerns that we're simply just not talking about in these meetings. The displacement of Los Angeles residents is beginning to impact the city. If you haven't noticed, there are homeless encampments everywhere. This has led to a high level, and there's no other way to say it, of human feces and discarded clothes, either on these streets that I mentioned or in small dark pockets of the corners near fences and things like that. Homelessness is a humanitarian crisis, and I think it should be discussed a little bit more. This weekend, I witnessed a distressed man on the corner of Garfield and Florence. He had his pants down, engaging in lewd acts. If you check the police record, I called in Sunday morning. I hope somebody responded. But I feel like, as a homeowner here, that we've officially become the city where individuals know they can come to our city, drop their pants, and simply not get caught. And I feel like that wasn't the case a year ago, that this has grown exponentially. If you walk the city, you'll notice the increase of sketchy actors hanging out in front of liquor stores. This is how it happens. Drug users and pushers begin by vetting a city by foot and bicycle. They befriend local users and dealers. And when they encounter law enforcement, the numbers grow and the crime goes up. If you visit any gas station or grocery store, you'll make note of the amount of harassment that we receive by these individuals when we tell them we don't have spare change for that day. I hope you will take the time to walk the streets and notice all the other crazy things happening in the city, like massive tire marks and residential intersections made by careless drivers doing donuts in the middle of the night freely and without consequence, or all of the patchy, unsightly work around all of the recently replaced streetlights, all the paving that occurred there with that black tar. It just looks crazy and not like anything else that is in any of our surrounding cities. Seems like everybody here wants to move out and go to Downey for some other city where things just maybe look a little nicer, or perhaps there's a perception of a little more discipline there. As a homeowner, I just feel that we're headed in the wrong direction aesthetically, and we have to try to make it so that folks want to, invest in our city and things like that. There's been a lot of discussion about parking, and I don't want to make it too much of an issue. One thing that hasn't been brought up is how many folks park in our city in an Uber.
Sir, your time is up. I'm sorry.
Thank you for your comments,
Or in
sir.
Maywood, because it's cheaper. Okay, thank you. Have a
Thank you
good
so
evening.
much. You too. The next speaker is David Valeri. Hello, is this Mr. Valeri?
Yes, it is.
This is Jane.
How can I help you?
Yes, this is Jane Halstead, City Clerk for the City of Bell Gardens. I'm calling you so you can state your comments before the City Council by phone.
Sure.
Please announce your name and state your comments. You have 3 minutes to speak, starting now.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening to all the attendants. My name is David Valer, and I am the Public Relations Director for All Nations Christian Fellowship Church. We are located on the corner of Grade and Spec in the city of Bell Gardens. Recently, it has come to our attention, our church's attention, that the Neighborhood Watch program could possibly be defunded or canceled outright. In our humble opinion, and I'm sure we're not the only church who holds the position that canceling the Neighborhood Watch program would be doing a great disservice to the citizens of our gardens. For our church in particular, we have been involved with this program for over 3 years now. We have attended several functions this program has sponsored. Not only have we maintained a good working relationship with Mary Lou Travis, but also met with other churches and developed important outreach programs, all to the benefit of citizens of our garden. I'd just like to add at this time, that I found Mary Lou to be very dedicated to her work with, decades of experience and expertise in the everything community. We really appreciate her time and her effort that she puts forth for the citizens of our gardens. I know that she is definitely backs the police department and backs all of the faith-based groups, and definitely has a heart for the citizens of our gardens. So with that, that's I guess all I'd like to say, and I appreciate your time, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
You're very welcome.
Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Our next speaker is Maria Lorenzo.
Aló, buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes. Se encuentra María Lorenzo.
Lorenzo, sí, yo soy.
Ok. Mi nombre es Jane Halstead, secretaria de la ciudad de Bell Gardens. Le llamo para que pueda dar sus comentarios ante el Consejo Municipal por teléfono. Por favor,
gracias.
Por favor, anuncia su nombre y diga sus comentarios. Tienes 3 minutos para hablar. Comienza.
Gracias. Sí, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es María Lorenzo. Buenas tardes, perdón a los miembros del consejo y a usted, Mayor. La razón que estoy hablando es porque quería avisar, ahorita en nuestro programa de Neighborhood Watch, que escuchamos que nos lo querían quitar. Nosotros estamos muy activos y estamos haciendo muchas cosas para la ciudad, el programa junto con la coordinadora. Este fin de semana nosotros estuvimos junto con ella patrullando algunas calles de la ciudad y notamos que había mucho graffiti. Nosotras en persona removimos algo de ese graffiti que está ahí y siempre estamos patrullando las calles, los miembros del programa con la coordinadora, para ver en qué podemos ayudar a nuestra comunidad. Yo soy residente por los últimos 35 años de la ciudad y desde que tenemos el programa hay improve a lot en la comunidad. Por favor, no queremos que nos lo vayan a quitar o nos quiten nuestra coordinadora porque estamos haciendo demasiado trabajo y mientras que una gente está dormida, nosotros estamos allá afuera patrullando para asegurar que nuestra comunidad esté segura de crimen. Gracias.
Gracias, señora. Our next speaker is Laura Serrano.
Please leave your message for.
We'll go to the next one. It's Rosa Reese.
Ana.
Sí, buenas tardes. ¿Es Laura Serrano?
No, soy Rosa Ruiz.
Oh, Rosa Ruiz, perdóname.
Sí.
Mi nombre es Jane Halstead, secretaria de la ciudad de Bell Gardens. Le llamo para que pueda dar sus comentarios ante el Consejo Municipal por teléfono.
Sí.
Por favor, anuncia su nombre y diga sus comentarios. Tiene 3 minutos para hablar.
Okay.
Comience.
Ok. Sí.
Comience, señora.
Mi nombre es Ruiz. Estoy hablando sobre por aquí de la ciudad de Belgarde, para que, ¿verdad? Estamos satisfechas con todo lo que están haciendo. Y gracias por todas las cosas, ¿verdad? Que estamos y queremos, ¿verdad? Que sigan motivándonos para seguir apoyando a esta estamos en verdad. Por favor, ¿verdad? Que la policía siempre esté pendiente de cuando nosotros llamamos, siempre están pendientes y yo les agradezco todo lo que hacen, ¿verdad? Y pues me siento muy contenta y muy agradecida todo lo que hacen. Gracias.
Gracias, señora.
Ok, gracias.
Bye bye. Our final speaker is Huberto Garcia. Bueno, este es Huberto García.
Sí, yo soy.
Mi nombre es Jane Halstead, secretaria del Ciudad del Bell Gardens.
Ajá.
Le llamo para que pueda dar sus comentarios ante el Consejo Municipal por teléfono. Por favor, anuncie su nombre y diga sus comentarios. Tienes 3 minutos para hablar. Comienza, señor.
Comentarios,
Sí,
comentarios de lo de la Neighborhood Business Watch, ¿verdad?
sí.
Sí, mi nombre es Humberto García y estoy comunicando que el Neighborhood Business Watch debería de continuar porque ha sido de gran ayuda para la comunidad y ha sido muy beneficiario para todos los negocios y pues nos han ayudado mucho. Ese es todo el comentario que quería hacer yo sobre eso.
Bueno, gracias, señor.
Ujú.
Bye bye.
Ok, bye, thank you.
That concludes the callers that requested to be called.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and move on with the email comments. So this one says, mi nombre es Reina Rivera y soy residente por más de 26 años y me preocupa que quieran quitar el programa cuando ya más de 15 años está funcionando excelentemente. Hoy quieren quitarlo, es injusto cuando la coordinadora y la policía han hecho un buen trabajo, que hasta el concilio y otros departamentos importantes del estado les han dado reconocimientos. Yo me quito el sombrero ante la señora Marilu y sus voluntarias que le ayudan a caminar de casa en casa bajo la lluvia o sol, días libres o medianoche. Ella siempre está presente. No es justo que hoy que gozan de una ciudad tranquila traten de quitarlo. Muchas gracias. Enviado desde that's sent from my iPhone. Y es Reina Rivera. Moving on to the next one. Good afternoon. My name is Grizel, and I am in support of the city's Neighborhood Watch program that is currently being run by coordinator Mrs. Travis. I've been involved with the program since I was in high school. Throughout the years, I have seen this program grow under her supervision, and help keep an eye on our streets and prevent crimes. There are local businesses involved with the program as well. I would really hope more people get involved to help the police department remove criminals off the streets and keep the streets safe for our children. Thank you for reading my comment. Good evening, Council. I'm a resident of Bell Gardens. I'm not in agreement that they remove the position of Neighborhood Watch Coordinator. Because of her hard work and dedication, we are collaborating to make Bell Gardens a better community for the future generations. Only those that have volunteered their time know that it's not easy to do. Thank you, Travis Acevedo. Hello, everyone. My name is Rosa Ibarra. I have been a resident in Bell Gardens since 1984. I have seen so many changes in our community. During these past years, I'm so proud to say that I lived in Bell Gardens for so many years. Ever since I moved here, I wanted to live in Southgate, Hunham Park, Maywood, City of Bell. Today, I noticed that these cities are not well kept as Bell Gardens. So nice and comfortable to live here. I also noticed that thanks to the Neighborhood Watch Coordinator, who was assigned 15 years, has been working so hard and diligently. Mrs. Travis and all the volunteers that really care to keep up with and maintain our streets. Without crime and alleys, without trash such as abandoned furniture and graffiti. If you remove our Neighborhood Watch Coordinator, you will be making a great mistake. Lots of people are going to get hurt and vandalized or killed. Please find another means to reduce our budget. I'm a health worker or an essential employee. I see things that are not getting better. If we continue with this pandemic, people without jobs or money are going to be desperate. God forbid we are all going to be in trouble with criminals who will try to break into our homes while we work to steal our food for anything of value that we may have. And you too, city officials who reside in Bell Gardens, will also see a very chaotic city without enough police officers to protect us. I'm a registered voter. I want changes and beg of you, please think before you get rid of the Neighborhood Watch program and our coordinator that work with our police force. Great teamwork. Respectfully yours, Rosa Ibarra. And that concludes our email comments. Okay, with that, I'm going to go ahead and close public participation, and now we're going to go ahead and move on to City Council member comments. Councilmember Acevedo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to thank all the speakers that emailed or called in. Thank you for your participation, and to our staff, keep on doing a great job. And for our residents listening, we got to do our part. Make sure that we're abiding by COVID-19 practicing safe distancing and wear a mask when we're out on the street. And with that, Mayor, I would ask to be excused.
Okay, Councilmember Aceituno, you are excused at 7:09 PM. We'll note that for the record. But we're just in councilmember comments now. Councilmember Barcena.
One second, I just need to pull out my notes here. Not sure where they went. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Councilmember, go ahead.
Okay. I'm gonna do it in Spanish just because I think a lot of our residents speak Spanish. Pero les quiero recordar a todos que este miércoles es el último día para entregar sus aplicaciones para los programas de asistencia de negocios pequeños. Son un total de $3,000 a 50 empresas a través de un proceso de lotería que ustedes pueden recibir. Entonces, ese programa, el último día es el miércoles. Por favor, si necesitan ayuda, si han sido impactados por la pandemia, entreguen su aplicación a más tardar el miércoles para el programa de asistencia de negocios pequeños. También este miércoles, el último día para la asistencia con pagos de renta. Si usted ha tenido problemas pagando la renta por lo de la pandemia, este miércoles es el último día. Vamos a dar un total de 50% de alquiler. Se pagará por 3 meses, hasta $500 al mes. Por favor, para la gente que está afuera, por favor, entreguen sus aplicaciones antes del miércoles. Esta es una gran oportunidad que todo el consejo aquí de Bell Gardens apoyó para que ustedes puedan aprovechar. Otra vez, asistencia de negocios pequeños y asistencia con pagos de renta, último día este miércoles. I just gave a brief reminder about the Small Business Assistant Grant and the Residential Rental Assistant Grant. That the deadline for the application is this Wednesday. So please don't forget to turn in your applications. Las aplicaciones las pueden encontrar en la página de internet de la ciudad de Bell Gardens, bellgardens.org. You can find the application on the city website at bellgardens.org. That concludes that reminder. I wanna ask our community, because we live in a community that's mostly Latino. It's about 98%. We're all from the same race, more or less. And what I want to bring to the attention of everyone is two tragedies that have had a lot of impact in me, because people from the military that gave their lives to serve our country. Speaking about Vanessa Guillen and Roman Martinez, who were both found dead. They were murdered at their military base. So I want to ask for a small moment of silence for them, because they are reflective of our community, and these could have been any of our residents' children. So if we can please have a small moment of silence for Vanessa Guillen and Roman Martinez, starting now. Okay, thank you. And I just want to bring more awareness to our communities to always please stand up for justice. Let's make sure that we're working together to improve our conditions. Let's make sure that we fight racism actively, because it's still a big aspect of our reality. And I'm not going to go into much more details because I want to make this nice and short for everyone. But again, thank you for those that submitted your comments. I really appreciate your involvement in the community. And thank you for tuning into the meeting.
Thank you, Councilmember Barcena. Mayor Pro Tem Flores.
Marco, I just want to commend you. Those beautiful words. I love that you ended it in standing up for justice. With that said, I want to thank our representative from New York, Alejandra Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, who recently, she rose about the harassment that she was receiving from one of her legislative colleagues at the Capitol. And, I couldn't feel, but so I understood her. Her story resonated with many of the women who I have the pleasure of working with. And I just have to say that, I'm from Bell Gardens, right? I have experienced sexual harassment. My first day at Bell Gardens Intermediate, I was jumped behind foster fees by like more than 7 girls. And I'm just like, I can take it. I'm a strong woman. But what I don't think is right, it's to be, since I started here, I feel like I've been a target for one of my colleagues. And I just have to say that I feel like maybe he's obsessed with me. I'm not sure. And as soon as I was elected, I just wanted to tell you guys, this carpet here was full of mold, or it was really pungent. And so were the walls, right? So what we did is that we got our carpet removed and our a fresh coat of paint. The doors were left open, and in that process, one of my colleagues took advantage and took a picture of my office. And I thought that was, crazy. Somebody saw this person do it, so that's how I knew that's what it was. And then posted this online, right? A picture of my office and me saying that I had purchased a baby playpen with the city credit card, and posted it under this PhD account. And I was like, that's crazy, right? And at the time, everybody was very, kind to me and reached out to me. And because of it, our city manager suggested that we put mailboxes outside of our office. So now, because we can't have our doors open, there's mailboxes installed outside of everybody's office as a privacy measure to give us that, that peace of mind. And then moving forward, one time I was in a public setting and I was texting my husband and I told him, you know what, I don't feel really comfortable. This guy's here and he's literally just staring at me, taking pictures of me. And he's like, take a picture of him. So I did. And then this is a picture of Councilmember Aceituno holding his phone up right there, taking a picture of me. Later on, online, this picture was posted of me. That's me. That's my son. As you can see, he was the only person standing next to me. We were sitting next to each other, and I walked past him in front of that door, and he took a picture of me. And that was that. So, I mean, I don't know what the problem is here. I don't know why he's so obsessed with taking pictures of me and putting all this, stuff on me online. But I just think that, when our representative from, New York spoke out, I just felt that, she was speaking up for a lot of us, for a lot of women. And, to me, it spoke about real feminism, right? Feminism isn't just posting a meme on Instagram and letting it at that. Feminism is really standing up for all women against bigotry, against the ones, even the ones that you don't like, especially the ones that you don't like. Those are the women that you stand up for, right? And I think that's what a real feminist is. That's what a real leader is. And, when you endorse this behavior, when you decide to work with a man like this, when you stay quiet, you endorse it with your silence. That's what you do. And I want you to know that I'm standing up today because there's a lot of young women who look up to me, and they need to know that they need to stand up for sexism wherever it presents itself, even if it comes from powerful men, which in this case it has been. Mr. Aceituno has been for 21 years, and I'm experiencing this harassment. By the way, nobody has, told me anything so far as my colleagues or, expressed their, their concern, but that's okay. Like I said, I'm from Bell Gardens. I don't need anyone's support, but I'm speaking out against him because the community needs to know the kind of man that represents him, the kind of man that's representing them. And I just don't think that it's fair for this to continue. So I want to, make sure that everybody in our city knows what he's doing behind closed doors, because it just seems like we can't even see his picture, but he just seems like this absent 21-year council member. Mr. Aceituno, 21 years ago, I was 5 or 6 years old, and he's harassing me. So that's that. But moving forward, I'm sorry, I'm just so concerned, because this has been going on for so long, and it's so difficult for me to speak about it because everybody knows it's happening, but no one says anything, right? So I think I'm so glad that I'm finally getting to speak out about it. And it reminds me of, our representative from New York. It reminds me of Vanessa, who when she spoke out, nobody believed her, and now she's dead. And so when we stand up to justice, Marco, we stand up to justice everywhere, wherever it presents itself for whomever is being the victim, whether you like that person politically or not. And moving forward, I don't know if you guys know, but the suicide rate right now is the highest since World War II. And the National Suicide Prevention Line has been receiving phone calls every day. Right now, the suicide rate is from Generation Z, which is I think 11 years old, all the way to millennials, which is past 34, 35. So we have a lot of people at home who are experiencing isolation, mental health issues, people who are being displaced, and there's not a lot of help, right? So I want you guys to know that I've spoken to our Senator Lena Gonzalez, and she's going to be providing resources to our city very soon. In the meantime, I want to provide anybody who's listening to this the National Suicide Prevention Line, where you can text someone and someone would text you back, is 741-741. So if you're home and you're feeling lonely or you're sad and something's happening in your home and you need help, please text us 741-741. And if you want to speak to somebody, the number is 1-800-273-TALK, talk. So I want to conclude this meeting by expressing my deepest condolences to my beautiful, gorgeous leader friend, Robert Garcia, who today is experiencing the loss of his mother. Robert Garcia is mostly known for being the mayor of Long Beach. He's the first immigrant, openly gay mayor in Long Beach. I didn't have the pleasure of meeting his mom, but what I can say is that you brought an immigrant to this country who is now the mayor of a very successful, amazing city, and my condolences are with the Garcia family today. So with that, I would conclude my time.
Okay, as far as my council member comments, just again reiterating what Councilmember Barcena said about our deadline coming up in 2 days for our small loan, for our small business and residential assistance is due July 29th, correct, City Manager? July 29th, 5 p.m. If you cannot do it electronically, you can always come to City Hall. We have paper copies outside in a little table. Feel free to pick one up and submit it, or you can do it from your home conveniently online. If you do have any questions, you can always call City Hall and call our staff. And just would like to end and with this also send a message to our community. I want to end this meeting in memory of Mrs. O'Donnell. As Mayor Pro Tem mentioned, Mayor Garcia lost his mother. I can't even imagine being an elected official at the forefront of thousands, millions even, having to lead such a big community. But at the same time, he couldn't safeguard his own family. So I would just like to remind everyone to please do your part. Wear your mask. Sanitize your hands. If you can't wash your hands often. If you are in a business setting, please wear your mask so you could protect yourselves and others. Because we don't know where we've all been and we're all trying to do the best that we can to work and to continue to work. Even if you're walking outside and you see somebody walking towards you, please put on your mask. Just try to wear it at all times. It's a small sacrifice, if anything, in comparison to the magnitude of human loss that we're experiencing. And the faster we comply with these rules, the faster that our country or our city can get back to normal. But just remember that it's not going to be normal for many families who have already lost a lot of their loved ones. This virus is very much real. And the worry is not with us that are healthy, quote unquote. The fear is for those that are vulnerable and that are sensitive. So, para nuestra comunidad, queremos terminar esta junta en la memoria de la señora O'Donnell, que es la mamá del alcalde Mayor García de la ciudad o el alcalde García de la ciudad de Long Beach. Es un recordatorio, todos los días tenemos a más personas que se nos van gracias a este virus. Y es un recordatorio de que todos deben de tener su máscara, por favor. Si están cerca de alguien a menos de 6 pies por más de 10 minutos, es donde tienen que usar esa máscara. Traten de hacerlo regularmente, lávense las manos 20 segundos. Cuando no puedan lavarse las manos, procuren usar hand sanitizer. Es algo muy pequeño que nosotros podemos hacer para ayudar a avanzar, que ya no haya tantos casos de este virus. Por favor, en nuestra comunidad de Bell Garden sí se hace una petición que por favor limitemos las fiestas. No hay que tener fiestas ahorita en nuestros hogares. Si van a hacer una carne asada, solamente pueden hacer los que viven con ustedes dentro de su casa, pero más no invitar al tío, la prima, porque aunque no tengan síntomas, no quiere decir que no tienen el virus. A veces se tarda 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 días para que una persona empiece a exhibir síntomas, pero eso no quiere decir que no está regando el virus. So, por favor, no fiestas en la ciudad. Y eso es, cada quien va a hacer sus propias decisiones. Nosotros no podemos estar ahí enforzando todo porque pues todos somos adultos. Solamente tomen esa precaución para cuidar a todos los demás. Este virus es real. No vemos una solución tan cercana como la veíamos antes. Los casos siguen creciendo. Hay que ser honestos con nosotros mismos y en realidad ver si estamos haciendo las mejores decisiones cuando se trata del virus. Y con eso vamos a terminar esta junta en la memoria de la señora O'Donnell y también de todas las personas familiares que hemos perdido a causa de este virus. Y con eso se termina la junta a las 7:23. We're ending our meeting at 7:23.